Welcome to the Markets Happy Hour podcast, a weekly markets update for investors the world over. Each week we discuss inflation, geopolitics, interest rates, equity markets, and other asset classes. To try to answer the question, what does this mean for my investment portfolio? Let's dive in.
I think the real direct question is, how can you insulate a portfolio against stagflation?
That's a great question. I think it's something we've been thinking about for a little while. And I think wherever you grow up in the world, you have different, let's call it scar tissue, DNA, in terms of how you think about the world. But certainly if you grew up in the UK, let's just say we've got form for this type of thing, which not every other country does have. We've certainly got form on the inflation side of things. So I think it's something that's been on our minds. I think if you had stagflation in the US, or true stagflation, I think that would be quite a different situation, just the sheer scale of the US economy and the ripple out effects of that. But it's certainly on people's minds. In terms of how you build a portfolio to withstand these things, it's difficult. When you tend to look at different economic scenarios and think about what sorts of portfolios you might hold in different scenarios, you can tend to come up with reasonable asset allocations that work in each. Stagflation's harder. The combination of falling growth and rising inflation is a fairly toxic combination. I think if you then got to think about your time horizon. So my view would be, if you do get a stagflationary environment, you've got to think about what comes out the other side. And you probably want to own things in the medium term that will survive the inflation side of things, which then means things that can protect capital on the downside, which probably means harder assets, property, infrastructure, that type of thing. Although then you have to consider the rate sensitivity, and if rates do really push up as a result to combat inflation. So it's, as I say, the challenge is that dual piece of owning assets that are resilient to inflation and can maintain real purchasing power and real value. However, as you say, you have the duration impact from higher rates. So it's a really difficult one. Some people say commodities and others, but then you're into probably gold and the less economically sensitive ones. But gold's been performing pretty unusually of late as well. So I don't have any great answers on that one. I'm sorry.
No, but I think it's a great thought experiment, because there's a difference between shock insurance and shock absorbers and stagflation insurance, because obviously stagflation is a much more persistent state. I'm probably just thinking about what are the enduring equities and the enduring pieces that will ensure demand. And Halo was this name that was bandied about before we started talking again about oil and energy as being a kind of a stable, maybe the anti-AI trade, or at least the complementary AI trade. So we will come to that, but I think it's a thought experiment we all need to do a bit more vigorously as we go forward.